You know, we've all seen those ads, right? The fast cars, the laptops on the beach, the promise of just easy money. But behind that whole fantasy of day trading, there's a really high-stakes reality. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain and demystify what it actually takes to survive in this world.
And this is the question that gets everybody, isn't it? The dream of turning a little bit of cash into a fortune, all from your laptop. I mean, it sounds almost too good to be true. So is it? Well, the data paints a very, very different picture.
And yeah, the numbers do not lie. Study after study shows that most individual day traders, more than half, end up losing money. So let's be super clear. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme. It is a serious business with huge risks. And knowing that right from the get-go is absolutely critical.
So what exactly is day trading anyway? Well, at its core, it's all about speed. You're not investing for the long haul. Nope. You're trying to profit from these tiny little price movements that happen within a single day. Sometimes we're talking about minutes or even seconds. This requires a totally different mindset than traditional investing. Okay, so that brings us to our first big topic, the day trading gamble. And you know what? Let's forget about money for just a second. Success here isn't just about how much cash you have. It's about your character. It demands a very specific set of personal skills that are, frankly, non-negotiable.
These are the things that separate the professionals from the gamblers. You need the diligence to do constant research, the focus to watch the markets all day long, the objectivity to see what's really going on, and maybe most important of all, the emotional control to stop fear and greed from making your decisions for you. This is a job, folks, not a slot machine.
All right, so let's say you've got that mindset. How do you actually get started? Well, it all begins with building a rock-solid foundation. We can actually break this down into a 5-step launch pad to get you going on the right foot long before you ever risk a single dollar.
Think of this as your roadmap to getting started. Step 1, you've got to educate yourself. That is non-negotiable. Then, you create a detailed plan with crystal clear rules. Only then do you pick a broker. And when you finally do start, you start small, focusing on learning, not earning. And that last step, discipline, that's the one that never, ever ends. You have to practice it every single day.
So, once your foundation is set, you need a set of rules to live by. Think of these as your commandments. They're what protect your money and keep you in the game long enough to actually have a shot at succeeding. And among all these rules, there is one that stands head and shoulders above the rest.
Listen, if you take only one thing away from this whole explainer, please let it be this. By risking only 1 to 2% of your account on any single trade, you make sure that no single loss can ever wipe you out. This is the absolute bedrock of survival. It means you could be wrong 5 times in a row and still have over 90% of your money. A few bad trades won't kill your career if you follow this rule like it's your religion.
Now, beyond that huge risk rule, there are other pillars of a good strategy. You got to stay informed. Set aside serious time for this. It's not a hobby. And don't try to trade everything at once. Just focus on 1 or 2 stocks at first. Oh, and please avoid the temptation of those super cheap, super risky penny stocks. And here's a great practical tip. For the first 15 to 20 minutes after the market opens, just watch. Don't trade. It's wild and volatile, and it's a super easy way for new traders to get burned.
All right, so we've covered the mindset and the rules. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty. How do you actually find stocks to trade, and then how do you go about placing those trades?
Day traders are basically hunters, and they're looking for a specific mix of traits in a stock. First is liquidity. That just means you can get in and out of a trade easily, no problem. Second is volatility, because hey, if the price doesn't move, there's no profit to be made, right? And finally, high trading volume. That tells you there's a lot of interest in the stock, which helps confirm that its price moves are for real.
Now, understanding how you buy and sell is just as critical. A market order gets you into a trade immediately, but you might not get the exact price you were hoping for. A limit order, on the other hand, lets you name your price, but there's no guarantee the trade will ever happen if the market doesn't hit your number. Most disciplined traders lean heavily on limit orders because it gives them precise control over their entry and exit points. So once you're ready to make a move, what's your game plan? Well, there are a bunch of common strategies. Scalping, for instance, is a super fast-paced game of grabbing tiny little profits. Fading is when you bet against a big, recent move. Daily pivots is trying to play the range, buy at the low, sell at the high. And momentum trading is all about jumping on a powerful trend and riding the wave. Each one takes a totally different skill set.
Okay, we've talked about the what, and the how. But now we have to talk about the why. Specifically, why is day trading so unbelievably hard? Why do so many people fail? Well, the answer is usually a lot closer to home than you might think.
First off, you're not just playing against other beginners. You're up against massive institutions with way more money and way better tech. Second, any profits you do make get taxed at a pretty high rate. But the biggest challenge of them all? That's the battle that's fought right between your own ears.
And that really brings us to the most important point of all. You can have the best strategy in the world, but it's only half the battle. The real test, the real challenge, is having the discipline to execute that strategy perfectly when your own money is on the line. The second that fear or greed takes the wheel, even the most brilliant plan becomes totally worthless.
This one simple mantra sums up the entire philosophy of successful trading. All the hard work, it's done before you ever place the trade. You create a detailed plan, your entry point, your exit point, how much you'll risk. Then, when it's game time, your only job is to execute that plan. No emotion, no second guessing.
And that really leaves us with the final and most important question. Look, learning strategies and reading charts, that's the easy part. The real work is mastering yourself. So as you think about this world of day trading, the question isn't just, can I find a winning strategy? It's, can I build the unwavering discipline to actually follow it?